You know that feeling way back when you'd settle in for the newest episode of like a really long anime?
Yeah, totally.
You're hyped, right?
Yeah.
Ready for the story to move forward, and then bam, filler. A random side story, maybe some, recycled animation padding things out.
Yeah.
Anyone who's been watching anime for a while probably remembers that initial groan, maybe even wanting to hit skip.
Absolutely. It's definitely a shared memory for loads of anime fans. That little bit of deflation when you realize, okay, this week's not moving the main story along.
But, lately I've been wondering something. With so much modern anime doing these shorter, seasonal formats, there's way less filler, sometimes none.
Right. Much tighter pacing.
But have we actually lost something because of that? That's the question we're really digging into today. It was sparked by this really interesting video from the YouTube channel Shonen View called Anime Without Filler Feels Empty. And here's why. And their core argument, the really fascinating part, is that maybe those episodes we used to kind of dread, maybe they actually offered some unexpected value.
Interesting. So while we're definitely not saying all filler was amazing, let's be honest, some of it was pretty rough.
Oh, for sure.
Our mission today is really to unpack the role filler played. We want to explore if its absence now in today's anime has changed how we experience these stories, maybe in ways we didn't quite appreciate back then.
Yeah. And just for anyone less familiar, filler basically means anime episodes with stories not from the original manga, often made just to let the manga author get ahead.
Exactly. A buffer, essentially.
Okay, so let's tackle the traditional view first. The downsides of filler, they're pretty obvious, right?
Usually, yeah.
We're talking animation that could feel a bit off sometimes, maybe off-model. Storylines that didn't really go anywhere with the main plot.
Right, plot stagnation.
And just that overall feeling of the story kind of stalling. I mean, I immediately think of Naruto. I swear I must have seen Naruto on that swing.
Oh, God, the swing, yes.
More times than actual plot happened in some arc.
And who could forget the, endless loop of Gaara's tragic backstory? Or the Longland arc in One Piece, which... okay, had some fun bits, but it definitely felt like it overstayed its welcome a lot.
Totally. Those are the classic examples that fuel that, anti-filler feeling, the frustration of feeling like the story was spinning its wheels.
Precisely.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Shonen View kind of throws a curveball. They suggest that filler actually provided some really crucial things that the manga, often rushing to meet deadlines, didn't have space for.
Oh, like what?
Specifically, world building and character development. They bring up some great examples.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Because it's true, those seemingly pointless detours, maybe they did add something.
Well, think about their example from Naruto. That mission where Naruto, Kiba, and Hinata had to find Sasuke using some special tracking beetle.
Right, okay. Sounds like pretty standard filler fare on the surface.
But think about what moments like that gave us. We got to see those characters interact outside the usual, life or death fights.
Yeah, lower stakes.
It was just them trying to do a relatively normal for ninjas, task. And doing that gave us a better sense of their dynamics, their skills, just their personalities in a more relaxed setting.
Okay, yeah. Made them feel a bit more like real people with lives beyond just the main plot thread.
Exactly. And then there was that quest for the curry of life with Rock Lee and Might Guy.
Oh my God, yes. Pure comedy.
Pure, unadulterated comedic gold.
Exactly. And moments like that, while not pushing the Sasuke plot forward, they gave the Hidden Leaf Village a sense of place. It wasn't just a backdrop for fights.
Right. It felt like a real community where these characters lived and had these often kind of quirky, funny interactions.
Made the world feel more alive, less static.
And let's talk One Piece, even though some of the filler there could get pretty wacky.
Understated.
Shonen View makes a really good point about how it often added to the dynamic between the Straw Hat crew. Even during something as long and, let's face it, as silly as Long Ring Longland.
The Davy back fight arc.
Right, we got to see the Straw Hats just being themselves,
Yeah, and connecting that to the bigger picture, even within all that silliness. Long Ring Longland gave us so many little character moments.
Sure.
The crew playing those ridiculous games, Luffy meeting all sorts of weird characters, that surprisingly great boxing match between Luffy and Usopp.
Oh, yeah, that was intense.
And, of course, the constant hilarious bickering between Sanji and Zoro.
Always a highlight.
It was a chance to see their personalities clash and mesh in low pressure situations.
But for me, the G8 arc in One Piece is the perfect example they bring up of filler that was just genuinely great.
G8. Good one.
No major villain, no world-ending threat, just the Straw Hats accidentally stuck inside a marine base trying desperately not to get caught.
It was all about the vibe, wasn't it? The tension of them trying to outsmart the Marines, those incredibly funny near misses.
Exactly.
And this raises an important question, like, what makes a story engaging beyond just plot momentum?
Right.
G8 works so well because it focused on the core of One Piece, the Straw Hats, as this found family.
Totally.
You saw their resourcefulness, their loyalty, their individual quirks just shining through in a situation totally separate from the main story. It really reinforced those bonds through their shared problem, the arguments, the laughs.
Yeah, all the stuff that made them feel like a real lived-in crew.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have that Naruto filler, the stuff after the Valley of the End fight.
Oh boy, yeah. I remember that period.
I remember being so frustrated back then. Sasuke had left. There wasn't a clear big bad right away. It really felt like the story was just treading water.
That was definitely the common feeling among viewers at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The lack of main plot progress felt like a huge drag.
Yeah.
But Shaman View offers this really interesting look back, arguing that those episodes were actually deliberately shifting focus onto the other characters in the Leaf Village.
Exactly. We saw Naruto teaming up with different members of the Konoha 11, characters who often didn't get a ton of screen time in the main manga story.
Giving the side characters some...
Yeah. And we got those unbelievably over-the-top hilarious missions with Rock Lee and Might Guy again.
Always gold.
It was all about these unexpected character pairings, seeing how they interacted, what their relationships were like outside the huge conflict.
And what's fascinating there is how that filler arguably gave a deeper sense of community within the Hidden Leaf.
How so?
Well, it wasn't just about Naruto and Team 7 anymore. We got glimpses into the lives and personalities of the wider cast, their own little stories and interactions. It helped make the village feel like a real functioning place where people lived, not just waited for the next big fight.
That's a great point. It felt more populated, more real. And Shaman View makes such a poignant point about that time being kind of Naruto's last real moments of relative normalcy.
Before everything ramped up again.
Exactly. Before the Akatsuki became the main threat, before the lead up to the Fourth Great Ninja War, he was still, in many ways, just a kid figuring things out.
Right.
That filler, in a way, captured those last bits and let him just be a teenager.
Interesting perspective. So if filler could offer all these potential benefits, these moments, why did it largely fade away?
Yeah, what?
Shaman View points to a pretty fundamental shift in how anime gets made. Specifically, the move away from those continuous weekly broadcasts.
Like One Piece and Naruto used to be.
Right, towards the modern seasonal format we see so much now.
Okay, that makes sense. Back then, shows like One Piece and Naruto were on TV every single week, year after year.
Non-stop.
So the anime production had to keep going. Even if the manga hadn't published enough chapters yet, filler became like a necessary buffer.
A way to keep the show on the air and give the manga creator time to build the story, get ahead.
Right.
The seasonal model, though, while it brings advantages like often much higher animation quality, better consistency, tighter pacing within that season,
Definitely looks prettier most of the time.
it inherently leaves very little room for stuff that doesn't directly push that season's main story forward. Every episode needs to feel like it counts towards the finale.
And Shonen View highlights some of the missed opportunities this creates. Like they mention wanting to see more of the main Jujutsu Kaisen trio just hanging out.
Yeah, Yuji, Megumi, Nobara, just interacting.
Or more of those hilarious moments between Yuji and Todo that aren't just part of a big fight.
Mm-hmm. Or unique character combinations going on smaller, maybe self-contained missions.
Honestly, I find myself really agreeing with that. I miss some of that.
Yeah, it really gets to the heart of what might have been lost with less filler. It wasn't just about padding out the episode count. It was the downtime, those weird, quiet, nothing really happens moments that maybe counterintuitively helped make the worlds feel more authentic.
And the characters more relatable, right?
Exactly.
We lost those chances for more like organic character growth, those smaller personal moments of bonding or just goofing off.
Little things.
That could actually make the big emotional beats in the main story hit even harder later on.
Yeah, absolutely. When you've seen characters just casually interacting, laughing over something silly, or struggling through some minor task together, their loyalty and their pain in the main plot feels so much more earned, more genuine.
Definitely.
Now, it's important to remember, like Shaman View also says, not all filler was good. Some of it was, let's be real, just padding, no question.
Oh, absolutely. Some was just bad.
But looking back, especially at those huge, long-running series as complete stories, you can really see how a lot of that filler did provide something valuable, something that's maybe harder to find now.
So it really does feel like a trade-off, doesn't it?
Seems that way.
Modern anime is often gorgeous, visually stunning, tightly plotted, moves super fast.
Yep, efficient storytelling.
But maybe in chasing that efficiency, we've lost some of that breathing room. Those character-first moments that added a certain warmth, maybe a depth, to the older shows.
It's possible. That filler, even when it wasn't pushing the A-plot, undeniably expanded the world sometime. And it gave us meaningful, non-epic moments that stuck with you in their own way. So, okay, we've kind of talked through that initial frustration people felt with filler, and then this maybe surprising appreciation for the space it actually provided.
Yeah.
Now, thinking about your own experience, you listening, has this discussion shifted how you see those older anime with filler? Or maybe change your expectations for character stuff in the streamlined seasonal shows today?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Looking back at the anime you've loved, did those moments of downtime, those episodes that weren't strictly necessary for the plot, did they actually play a bigger role in how you connected with the characters, with the world, than you first thought?
Maybe this deep dive encourages you to revisit some older series with, like, a fresh perspective. Maybe even give those filler arcs you skipped a second chance.
Or maybe just pay closer attention to the pacing and the character interactions in the shows you're watching now. Thinking about what might be gained or maybe lost without that sort of non-essential character-focused stuff.